purple queen beans planted in gaps in the garden. I try to fill gaps whenever they open up or after I've freshly mulched a garden bed. So this was a little bit of space in between all the tomatoes in the middle studio area. I also put pots on top of the garden when I'm hand watering in the summertime in particular. So when I'm hand watering some of the pots, I can water the garden at the same time or not waste the water. I picked my very first Tasmanian chocolate tomato, this one here, and it is hot. We've got a heat wave, so I'm putting sheets just randomly over plants that I think might get burnt. These are my largest, or some of my largest tomatoes, and there was a little bit of sun scald on one of them the other day, so I've covered that. Surprisingly, the avocado tree that I've put a teepee to grow beans up to protect it from the sun is doing okay. Usually the avocados burn and die on me, but this one seems to be okay. And my Russian mammoth sunflower is almost at flowering stage. It's huge. It's taller than me and I'm not a short woman. The Lebanese zucchini is going really well in this section here. This is an area that they did not grow well at all last year, but obviously the soil is better. And the wing beans are still small. They are not doing as well, or well, they're not growing as quickly. So I'm thinking it's more a weather thing with those. As it's warming up, they have perked up a little bit, and they should take off this week if that's the case, because we are going to get some really, really hot days all in a row. So the watermelon is responding, and I'm trying to keep the water up to that. They really do need water at this stage, and I'm looking at the stem to watch the stem for signs of it being ready, because it's only a little watermelon variety. The cucumbers just keep coming, and we've always got plenty of cucumbers. We eat them daily fresh, and I am gearing up to pickle some, preserve some very soon, because they're starting to really come on. But I am still waiting for a lot of the tomatoes. This variety here I thought was a beefsteak. I've saved the seeds from somewhere, but it's kind of looking a little bit like an ox heart variety by the shape. So look at the garden section. This is, you wouldn't think that this was such a young garden. It is really going really well, and this is the result of allowing mulch, leaf mulch, to just keep accumulating in this spot, and just keep feeding the soil, keeping it covered. Before I built the gardens here, or didn't build them so much, I started planting into them. So the strawberry runners I just showed you back there, the young plants are doing well under the shade, and these butternut squash are doing particularly well, and towards this left they are doing better than down towards the tree. Obviously the tree will steal nutrients from plants, so they're doing better up here. In fact, this is like taking off, heading for the hills, but it's got plenty of space there, empty space to climb over. I've put a bale of hay near the beans. The beans really struggle in the heat, and this is what happens to them. They suffer and either get attacked or burnt, and these look like they were going to die on me at one stage, and they're coming back green, but I've just thrown a bale as a bit of shade for them, and that plant there too was nearly dead, and that is looking okay. But my blackberries are another story. This is the second year this has happened. I get so much fruit, flowers, and when it goes to fruit, it is drying up, and I think the problem is the bananas growing right beside, taking up space. The shade over my potting plants has worked pretty well. I've lost some plants from the heat that were out in the full sun, and it was too much for them, so I've got them protected under here. And can you see that fluffy thing? Hang on. What looks like baked bread there that has surrounded some of my cuttings is popping up all over the place. It's a fungus that the spores are just helping themselves to mainly the bark mulch, which is a camphor laurel that I brought in, and it is popping up and growing, and it disappears after a couple of days, but it pops up all over the yard. And I'm finding that is probably, most funguses are fine. It'll be repairing or adding some activity to the soil, so I'm quite okay with it, but it does look strange. I have lost, I think, that fig there and a couple of other things that just got too much sun, but I've kept them under the shade to try and bring them back, because in this corner the figs are doing fine because they've been protected, so they're quite happy. I do find in summer it's tricky to keep your cuttings, or freshly cut cuttings and small things in pots alive, because the black pots heat up enormously. They get much hotter than a plant would in the ground, and sometimes so hot that it just cooks the plants. So it is a struggle to move things around and keep it watered and that. And I also find that strawberries don't like too much sun either. I've got a rust here on the sapoti that I bought. I have removed some of the leaves, but I noticed there's some I missed. So I can treat it with isopropyl alcohol, but I was trying just to remove the leaves initially. The cucuzza is growing well, and at the base of this cucuzza I planted some seeds. No, not this one, the other one. I've started to remind myself to still plant more seeds, even though there's so much growing. Those things will end, and so it's good to plant things that will keep growing. Now this feverfew growing that pot, I was just showing you there that I use it for chop and drop. It grew in that pot. I didn't really want it in that pot, but as it grows I am cutting it back hard and throwing it down as mulch. And I do look for plants that can be trimmed and cut down as mulch. There's a little pink pot below this tomato with another young tomato in it, and when I water that pot, the water is used for the plant underneath as well. So I look at ways like that to reserve water. In this section here, the empty part just in front of the net, I've planted some more cucumber seeds, some little pickling gherkins, and this pepper is finally coming on. It's this one I have overwintered, and I've put a couple of the cuttings of this also in the pot to see if they would take. And there's the ladybirds are everywhere at the moment, and so there's a couple of cuttings underneath this pot as well. The cucumbers and peppers in the garden are pretty slow from seeds or little seedlings. I grew most of them from seeds, but the overwintered ones they're slow to grow their leaves, but then they do kind of overtake the others and become bigger plants. These tomatoes are producing a lot of tomatoes, and I still haven't trained them up, like supported them. Next year I really do need to use the cages on these particular variety. These are the principal Borghese, Principe Borghese. This one on the end has come back. If you'd seen my early videos, it looked quite sickly. Like there's another one on the other end that looks average, very average. but I think it was just a water issue. I did use the garden mix in these pots, and it does tend to clump up. It's a bit dangerous to use that in pots. So I've had to really keep the water up to them, and they've been fine. And these are the barrel beds. There's a video on how I put these together, and you can see here I'm water managing and shade managing by putting my dahlia pots, or some of my dahlia pots that were suffering, I put them on top of these where there was a gap, and while there's a gap, and I water them, and it just adds a bit more water, and the pot itself keeps moisture underneath in the pot for the plants that are actually growing in these barrel beds. Now this pumpkin is finally taking off, and I'm allowing it to spread around, but I'm trying to keep it up off the ground because this is a very weedy, horrible grass area that needs to be brush cut regularly, so I don't want it in the way of the brush cutter. So the sweet potato in this barrel bed is going really well, or it appears to be. It's very hard to see underneath, and the strawberries are coming back. They got a bit heat damage too, and who knows what they're going to look like in about 5 days' time when we're in the high 30s and 41 or something degrees Celsius. But we'll see. So this, because it's opened up now, that zucchini is taking off. The young berries are quite happy being all trimmed back there, but you can see the damage here on the bean. So this is a scarlet runner bean there, even less obliging in the heat, as in they really don't throw out a lot of beans over the summertime, I find. They come into their own in autumn. So when autumn hits and it cools down a bit, they take off, and then you get lots and lots of beans from them. But they do grow in the spring, but it's kind of a slow process, and then once it cools off, they kind of, right, okay, now I'm going to produce while it's not so hot. So underneath here I planted 3 meaty variety tomatoes. They are semi-shaded currently by the young berries while the young berry canes are young, and I'm hoping that dappled shade adds a bit of protection for the young tomatoes, because these are like most of my tomatoes have got tomatoes on them. That's the stage they're at, but we are about to enter midsummer. So February for us is midsummer, and I've still got time to put some in. So I've put them in, but where they get a bit of protection. And these beans were planted many months ago, and I didn't think they grew. But now they're taking off, and so is the purple asparagus that I've got in this pot. I'm trying 1 crown in a pot there to see how they'll grow in grow bags. So I came back and fixed those stakes so that wasn't hanging out like that, and I could support the ferns as they grow up, and you leave them to go to ferns so it strengthens the plant. Now I've got 2 different varieties of grapes, and this variety is still green, but the one right up the top there, you can see that right on the veranda, where I can access from the veranda, they are starting to ripen. They're not a bad size, but they're not huge, so I think I really do need to feed the plant. I've given it a bit of water here and there, but I haven't been as attentive to the grapevines as I am to other plants. The pumpkin on bed number 2 is very much happier with that shade on it. I noticed that there was a vast difference having that's just a sheet that I've put over there, over the top of this bed. They wilted a little in the heat, but they were far happier than without it. And the chickens have all this shaded area under here, and I water that down. It's under trees. There's a lemon tree and a guava and bananas, and a currant in there, and that big bush there is my mulberry, and they love to hide under there when it's hot. So you can see one hiding in there. That one goes straight in under there. So I watered down under the trees there, and it waters the trees at the same time, keeping the girls cool, because chickens cool themselves from below through their feet and their belly. I haven't had a lot of luck with raspberries in pots. This is a yellow variety, but that has come out stronger this year, and I think the main issue with them is they do need a lot of water if they're in pots, and I haven't kept the water up to them as much. But I've got a scarlet runner growing up there, and I'm going to leave this grape to grow here, even though it's a grape that I don't particularly need. I'm just going to let it grow there for this season and take up part of that arch, and then I'll probably cut it right off when it's finished. I've put these tomatoes over here in the shade now. They were in the hothouse and they weren't getting as much water as they probably needed to. So again, I've put it in the garden where I know it'll get hand watered. And this Tromboncino is much bigger now. Like, I'm recording this voiceover about 3 days after this, and those cuckoos are huge. I can't wait to show you them in the next video. So I will finish this tour, and thank you for joining me walking around the garden today. But as you can see, it is, even though it's been stinking hot, it is still very green and lush and happy. So let me know what's happening in your garden, and I'll love to chat to you. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye for now.